You Tim, it's Brian Phillips. Look at this, it's the A-10 Twin 70. This is gonna be our second thoughts, guys. What a huge and beautiful airplane. Huge features like giant flaps, big twin 70mm EDFs. Get a load at those. Beautiful things. And then of course the big bear. Look at the pilot. Everything is super detailed on this. And the ordnance is astonishing, as well as spring-loaded mains, oleo front and back, and then spring-loaded nose gear. This thing is loaded and featured and ready to rock and roll. We're gonna probably take off here. We're not sure we're gonna land here though, flying it on 5000 6S, and we're gonna reset and get ready to start. All right, so takeoff flaps, ready to rock and roll. Final flight control surface test. Oh, one other thing that's changed. We're on the NX10 now, and there's no power lines. Oh yeah. She's alive.
Oh, cool.
Gear going up. Now this is flying on Reflex V2, 70% throttle here, backing it off about 50 and about 40, about 50. We got a little bit of turbulence. Huge power. Stalled out there at the top. Get it flying again. So the Reflex V2 is good. It's not maybe as good as Safe if you ask me, but it's definitely a good alternative because then you can run a 620, which is a lot cheaper. Full landing flaps here. Let's check this out. I feel like the AS3X keeps up with the wind just a little bit better. Excuse my frog. So now you may notice this is not a speed demon. 14 steps out. Perfect, right there. Full landing flaps. See us jank the tail around. Hard into throttle, 70, 80. See that kick, guys? That's one thing about this plane is it takes time to get the speed up. It's not like the Twin 64 from E-flite, which is fast, like 110 miles an hour fast. This one's fast too, but you got to really build up to it, folks. So you can see how I'm really cruising now, but that's only after I've gotten after it for a little bit. Right through the sun. Sorry, cam crew. Beautiful silhouette though. Mm-hmm. We're gonna bring it up and try stall turn here right before we kill our enemies. Oh yeah, hardly a stall turn. I was taking a lot of speed into it. And by the way, 3.5 minutes flies by in the blink of an eye on this plane, and that's how long our flight timer is. Goodness gracious, that frog is annoying. Takeoff flaps, landing flaps. Hey, out here. Perfect. Beautiful. Right up over the tree line. Now back to your right, please. I want to try some touch and wents here. We'll see if they work. I don't know if we're going to get it on the main runway or if we're going to have to go in for a longer runway landing. We're going to hit this low spot. More steps. Okay. More steps. Right there. Oh yeah, it's carrying a lot of speed. Look at that landing light, guys.
Looks really good though.
Okay, now you may have noticed me jank it there. It's because we have a stick. It is a snow stick, 72 inches long, and I just about hit it. So folks, if you have a snow stick, don't hit it. Full landing flaps. We're gonna see if we can try to touch this thing down. This is a tight runway for a big plane. Geez, you see the thermal action there? Okay. Quiet, frog. Frog, hold it down there, sir. Oh, no way. No way we're gonna get it, guys. Out of the flaps, out of the gear. Okay, so we gotta try this again. The gear coming out, going under the beautiful sun, right over the tree lines. Okay, we're gonna try to jank this wide. Carrying a little extra speed than I'd like to bleed off. I'm gonna trade a little bit for gravity here. Okay, here we go. Oh, way too fast. Way too fast. All right, to the road we go. Camera crew's gonna try her best to keep things in focus. Just can't get the angle, folks. Camera crew,
Yes.
you're doing a good job. I'm out of the throttle, just kind of gliding. I'm gonna just loiter up here and we're just gonna hit a landing, hopefully right in front of us, but the wind is definitely a little bit jankety. Some of these planes, you just need more real estate than we've got. Yeah, she's way up there, folks, and that's the way I need it, right there.
Okay.
Perfect, good job, camera crew, thank you.
Sorry.
By the way, give a shout out to the world's best camera crew in the video in the comments below. Oh yeah, we're dead stick now, guys. We are dead stick. I get one shot at this. Okay, hon, you good?
Yep, I'm out of the way.
Take off flaps. Guys, this is not. Okay, gear down, gear down. Full landing flaps. There it is, guys. She is a dead sticker.
That was actually really good though.
Pretty good landing, but look how long it rolled out, guys. That is one thing you need to keep in mind if you buy this thing. Look at that huge rollout. I told you this plane is full of huge things, and I was not exaggerating, folks.
That's one of them.
It is a big plane. It is a big, beautiful plane. It is definitely worth possessing. I would highly encourage you to consider buying one. And what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna quickly taxi as fast as I can, because we have some neighbors that like to come over the hill at about 90. So hopefully they don't come out of the overdrive over the top of the hill. You guys can hear it probably.
Yep.
It's like kind of whistling a little bit.
Are you gonna make it back?
Probably not. So guys, we used up every bit of everything we have on that 5,000. We are at 2 minutes 46 from on top of 3:30. And we didn't quite make it home, but the good news is we made it to the ground, which is important. Now, one thing I gotta say is I love flying planes that you can land in a tight space. Why? Because we fly from a tight space. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna swap out batteries. We're gonna basically get this thing flying from the road. We'll show you how it looks. We'll give you a feel for how it looks on this straightaway, because really this plane and a lot of jets love straightaways. If you like flying in 3D environment, sometimes jets are not always your best friend. That's my personal opinion. Not everybody agrees, but truth is, when you got a tight spot and you have a fast plane, sometimes it doesn't work as good. So you have to evaluate your space. And so again, unlike some of our competitive reviewers, not every plane is for you and not every plane is for me. But this thing is sweet. It's just, is it gonna fit in your environment? Some planes can be big and slow. Some planes can be big and fast and slow. And if you can do both, you'll be good. This thing will slow down, but I can't generate the right angle, because by the time you get your glide slope from here to here, you're too steep on your final. So why do we need 3D, or why do we need thrust reverse here, camera crew?
Slow us down.
Yep, exactly. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna pop this lid, go ahead and unplug our battery. It is hot. It is hot, 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 hot. Yeah, 3 volts, guys,
Yep.
3.04. So do not go 2 minutes and 40 past your timer on a 3.5 minute timer. But in the event that you're going to do it anyway, my suggestion is do it on as big a high C pack as you can. And just remember, these twins are battery chewers. Look at that pack. It is pissed at the world, and it is like really hot.
Oh my goodness.
So I'm gonna just lay it here, and we're just gonna let it kind of chill out for a few hours before we go back. Now, admittedly, that's way longer flight time than we meant, and it was so far away we couldn't hear it chiming at us. Another big advantage of having a telemetry equipped receiver, which you tend not to get when you don't need it, okay? Because if you're anything like anybody else, you don't wanna blow an extra 60, 70 bucks on the telemetry feature if you don't need it. Now, that being said, you don't have to get AS3X to get telemetry. You can get a 6611, I think is what it's called. I'm probably saying it wrong, but they have a 6-channel receiver with telemetry. It looks just like a 637. So we're gonna pause and come right back. All right, so we switched out to a Gen 2 pack, also 50C. I would highly suggest that you go for as high C pack as you can afford in this plane, because any twin that I've ever had has been a battery chewer. Granted, I tend to overdo batteries. So that being said, 3 minutes 30, timer set. We're gonna take off going that direction. So here we go. We're just gonna get right into it, guys. Take off flaps. Holding back on the elevator. And as you can see, it'll climb right out, okay? Gear up. Man, that looks gorgeous, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. Okay, we're gonna try pass right down the runway. Take off flaps. We're gonna do landing flaps here and really slow it down. A little bit of yaw input just to get that nose pointed down the runway so we don't have any sort of a stall. Going right toward me and the camera crew, and in a beautiful fashion, I might add. Look at that thing. Into the takeoff flaps, into the throttle. Got that nasty dip. I don't know if you guys saw that. Don't like that dip. I've noticed it a few times in the transition on flaps to no flaps. Okay, so we're gonna jank it here, and we're gonna come in fast. Here we go. Not the crispiest clean rolls we've ever seen from an A-10, but I gotta say, the thing gets it done. It flies heavy because it is. Okay, another high-speed pass with the wind this time. 50% stick, 50% throttle, I should say. And then we're gonna jank it back around. Show you some upside down performance here. We're gonna do an inside out loop here just to show you it can be done. I'm gonna roll out of that and continue the loop. Out of the throttle on the bottom and right through the sun. That's a good way to lose your planes, by the way, guys. Okay, so takeoff flaps, landing flaps. Takeoff flaps and gear. Just coming in here. I wanna see if I can get a greasy touch and go. Here we go. See, those power lines would be right where we are now. Okay, full landing flaps. Look at that thing carry that speed. And we're gonna get out of the flaps. Did you guys see my big dip when I switched? Just don't switch out of flaps quick. We may need to increase our flap transition speed. Let's try a nice big wide barrel roll. Oh, it looks so much better that way. Don't do a tight barrel roll, it looks dumb. Okay, take off flaps, landing flaps. And I mean, this thing slows down something fierce. We're 39 minutes left on our timer. We're gonna bring this thing in, draw it right out. Okay, full landing flaps, and the gear should be out. Call them if you see them. Mm-hmm. Okay, you do?
I see them.
Thank you. Got a little bit of a crosswind there, no big deal. And as you can see, if we had a thrust reverse action, we could slow that thing way down. Janking it a little bit now, just to kind of slow it down. Those ball bearing wheels are just amazing. But as you can see, we have a long runway, and we are actually catching a little bit of tailwind this side. So what we're gonna do is, that's our timer just went off. So we're gonna go ahead and flip her around fairly quick and just get it back taxiing toward us. Now, we're not gonna be nearly dead on batteries yet, but I just wanna play it safe because we like to play it safe. Landing lights do help on this plane. The one thing I gotta say is that when I have a short 3.5 minute flight time, it just leaves me wanting for more. And so if you get this plane and you expect to use one battery out of the flaps altogether, just got those things put away, then you might want to rethink your thoughts, because this thing is fun to fly, but it's also one of these planes where you get out there and you want it to be really, really, really easy. And to be honest with you, it's not a hard plane to fly, but it's definitely a lot harder than the E-flite 64 twin. Now, it's also a lot more plane than what you're getting with that E-flite. Don't like the flashing lights on the nav lights. We've discussed that before on other FMS products. I don't know why they do that. I mean, it might be kind of cool once in a while for like an air show, but I gotta say, I want nav lights. They are used for seeing, not for being cool, in my opinion. And as a pilot, I wanna see them. Now, that being said, visibility was way better than our first flights with this plane, and yet I still felt like we were probably riding just a little bit nose heavy. And that's why I feel like you could probably get that battery a little bit further back. Now let's talk about the flap sequence. Click, scroll down to flaps. Currently we have it on 2 seconds. I don't know if we just don't need the elevator correction on that or if we need a little bit more. I'm not sure exactly which direction to go, but I'm gonna give myself more time. 4 is a long time. Let's do 3. What that's gonna do is that's gonna just make the transition longer. It doesn't mean that it's actually going to change the output. It's just gonna take longer so you can get into the throttle for a longer period of time. And that'll help with some of that dropping of the nose that we were seeing when we got out of the flaps. Also, if you look at these landing gear, look at those big air brakes that are built in. Amazing, cool scale details. Now, the real A-10 would have an aileron that's split and it goes up and down. I think that the tail feathers might also do that. I could be mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys, in the comments below. I know you will. But the A-10 has a super complicated wing because of huge, huge, huge payload for its size. And so flying this thing with the Ordnance, I think it kind of should fly heavy by rights. But do I want it to fly heavy as a model airplane? I don't know. I'm not sure I'm crazy about the way it flies when it flies heavy. I'd like it to fly light on its feet and I can make it look heavy, okay? But that being said, takeoff and landing, pretty easy peasy. You get it in the air, it's no big deal. It doesn't have a big surprise other than that transition out of flaps into regular flight mode with the flaps totally up. So love the way it looks, love the way it sounds, hate the flight time on a relatively big battery. And these are not cheap packs. We're flying good, expensive batteries. And yes, there are some other high voltage options out there if you want to go buy high voltage batteries, and you might actually fare slightly better on a high voltage pack given the current draw in these applications. Because when you've got twins, I've never had a twin that wasn't a battery chewer. And let's just check this out. This was not pushing the timer, and you can see it's still got a tendency to really warm that thing up. It's not near as bad as it was before, but we pushed it almost to double its flight time, and we were dead stick on landing with recovery so that we could back taxi. It was totally dead over there on our first flight. Camera crew and I are gonna grab one more battery for our last and final on this second thoughts, and we'll be right back. All right, so we waited just a second for the sun to drop over the top of the trees. We got a 5000 6S. This is a 100C pack, okay? So we're gonna see if there's any improvement. I doubt there'll be an appreciable difference other than maybe a little bit less puff, okay? So we're gonna try not to push it too bad. We already got your dead stick landing on the first one. So here's nothing. Takeoff flaps deployed, and we're gonna try to capture the roll. Full throttle. Woo! That was really bad, guys. I just about bit it into that sign. Okay, so here we go, upside down. We're just gonna loiter here upside down just a little bit. Okay. Just come down the runway like this, like this. Guys, clean, it's flying real smooth. I feel like I'm into the throttle a lot less. Good visibility, beautiful weather. Sun is kind of a little bit intense at that angle, but I feel like we're getting a better flight performance out of this A-10 because we don't have all that ordnance on there sucking the life out of it. Let's try for a high-speed pass. You good? Mm-hmm. That's full throttle. And janking it up. That's about 10% on the sticks to get it to go up. Okay, we're out of the throttle, just letting it relax down. And another high-speed pass. Beautiful, glorious. Let's do a big wide roll. Big wide roll. And then taper off. We're gonna go into takeoff flaps. We're just gonna bring that thing up and over for visibility in RF. You can see that flashing LED there. Okay, a little bit of yaw authority. A little bit of yaw authority called on there. Absolutely gorgeous, 20% throttle. Good transition, don't want to clip those bushes. Some people like bush. Shh, bush. Right overhead, you good? Mm-hmm. Up. And then back down. Take off flaps to help the elevator. Into the throttle, about 15, 20%, 30%. And just avoiding narrowly the signs, and still saw a jank even with our increased time. 1 minute, time remaining. Up it goes. That's full rudder. Gets janky, guys. Full rudder and full ailerons gets janked out. The reflex is like, no soup for you. 50% throttle. Man, that thing cruises a lot faster. A lot more ups, a lot better flight experience, folks. I'd say get that ordnance off of there. It looks cool, but it does not make this thing fly very good. It's just way more slippery now. And I can tell you the difference is not that 100C pack. I don't think it's gonna make that big of a difference, folks. If you disagree, buy one from the links in the video description below. We're gonna jank it inside out loop, and we're gonna get into, that's our timer. Wind is all of a sudden coming over my right shoulder, so we're gonna try a landing the other direction. Out of throttle, just gliding. Take off flaps, gear coming out. We're gonna go ahead and call out a landing from this side and see how it looks. Got 50% throttle just to keep us from a high speed or a low speed stall, actually. And we're just gonna cut in right here. We're gonna see if we get some good lighting, full landing flaps here. You can see that nose gear, really good for visibility. Nose gear light right there. Oh yeah, watch that thing. Control your rate of descent, puff it up. There it is, guys. And coming home, just to talk about how sweet it looks. And there we go, guys. There you have it, the A-10. All I got to say is that last flight was so greasy compared to the other two, it almost makes the other two suck. And I gotta say, the only difference is, show them on top of the mailbox there, camera crew, because I'm just taxiing. Look at all that crap, guys. There's less material in some planes than we do on the ordnance for this thing. Now, that being said, it's only drag. It's still very light. It's absolutely gorgeous. And honestly, if you got this thing chilling on display, you gotta have that stuff on there. But you know what this plane lacks is thrust reverse. Throttle cuts on. I gotta say, in our application, if I had some thrust reverse, I could extend the length of my runway by 10 times with a plane like this, because I'm gonna come in here, I'm not gonna be dead stick, and I'm gonna go crazy on thrust reverse, and I'm gonna take off and land from my normal runway, which is what I really prefer to do. This is nice at a tier, but it's kind of, you know, a little bit, not necessarily, I prefer not to fly off the road. So here we go, guys. Let's check this out. Oh yeah, not seeing anything crazy for puffage. And then also I just want to look at the electronic speed control lead. I remember we hadn't figured out the T28 1.4, but you know, I don't think this one, I don't remember seeing the yellow lead. And I'm just looking right now. I'm not seeing it. Well, there actually is. Oh, there's two ESCs, guys. That's why I'm seeing a yellow lead, because there's actually two of them. So that being said, if there's twin ESCs, the thrust reverse would probably get kind of weird on us anyway. So if you're looking to get thrust reverse on this bird so that you can really get it in a tight runway, I think that's gonna really improve the flyability of this aircraft. Now, that's not to say that it's not a good flying plane. Obviously, all three flights were fun for their own reasons. I felt like the last flight was by far my favorite. I felt like the landing was a lot easier. I felt like that change in the flap to go from 2 seconds to 3 seconds on the deployment speed. I feel like that probably helped a little bit, but it's not a huge change, okay? So our radio setup, our unbox build radio setup is probably fine for what you're doing. If you want to try it just to see how it feels for you, give it a shot. It is calming down, but only just a little bit. The thermal activity as the sun goes over the crest of the hill changes. Sometimes we'll get sink in the air that you wouldn't have if it was just an otherwise calm day. But with that sun, we could definitely feel the thermal effects when we went over this tree line. You can see the thing balloon every time. And as the atmosphere calms, whether it's a really hot day or a spring day or whatever, or cooler day, you know, it's gonna make a big difference on how all that thermodynamic effect impacts your flight performance. So I gotta say, the thing flies great. It's greasy without all the stuff on there, and the ordnance looks really cool, but I gotta say, get it off of there. You're gonna like the flight experience a lot better. If you haven't considered the Twin 70 from FMS, I gotta say, it's a good plane. It definitely flies well. Tons of ordnance, makes it a little bit harder to fly, but that's true on every plane that we've ever done. Some planes don't seem to really care about the ordnance. It doesn't make it handle bad, but it does make it a little bit more wonk, I just noticed. So get those things off of there and you're gonna have a better flight experience, because really, I think it looks good enough without. And by the way, I'm thinking this is a gunship anyway, guys. I mean, yes, of course they're gonna have bombs. They're gonna take out tanks and stuff with missiles, but really we're just looking for that big 50 cal. You know, it's like, brr. That's what we all think of when we think of the A-10, even though other planes have similar sounding guns, just not quite as big. So I love this plane. I think you will too. If you want to help support us, this of course being our second thoughts video. This is where we come back and look at a video or look at a plane that we haven't flown for a little bit, or maybe we reviewed it in bad weather. It was cold. In this case, this was reviewed in cold, and it's been a little bit since we did it. By the way, look at this. We're already killing bugs. You're welcome, the world. You're welcome, world. So do the world a favor and kill some bugs, just like Brian Phillips RC, and get those airplanes up there. If you don't have this particular airplane you'd like to mimic us, you can follow the links in the video description below. You'll be supporting us with financial gifts from the companies we work with, not necessarily from you. However, if you just don't like that model and you just can't handle it, I don't know why, and you would rather just give us money directly to support us, we have PayPal and Patreon available. But we still think firmly the best way you can support Brian Phillips, our family of 4, and the wonderful camera crew, family of 6, our 4 kids.
4 kids.
Total
yes.
6, sorry, math. No math on camera. Sorry, we don't do that anymore. The best way to support us is to just get in the air and fly amazing planes. And if you buy them from the links, and that's the way you can support us. And then when we bring out new content, it helps to support us with financial gifts from all the companies we work with. You don't pay a penny more. They just pass that through to us and they do without it. So it's a good way for everybody to win. Plus we help to prop up the RC ecosystem. And I know I've been saying that last few videos. It's just because it occurred to me at the end of the day, if we're out here pushing sales of these models, these are the models that I want to see. Because what we're doing is we're propagating all the ones that we like the most, okay? And when we do, we're gonna support the companies that are doing the things we asked for, like Oleo spring-loaded struts. Now, they didn't give us soft tires, admittedly, but nobody's doing that yet, hardly. We do have flaps on here. We do have overpowered, which is all 3 things we've been asking for, LEDs. I've been screaming about that since we started on YouTube. I used to complain about flaps and LEDs, and I would add them to almost every plane, okay? That being said, I have largely gotten away from it because most planes have flaps. Some have LEDs, but I've also gotten away from flying in the dark as much as we used to. For a variety of reasons, not the least of which is the fact that it's hard to film. But we do fly at this time of day, almost every chance we get, guys. And so if you want to help support us so that we can keep doing that, and that the camera crew does not bury me in one of the many plethora of places that she could bury me, then buy these things and you'll help support the channel. Also, we hope you guys saw us at Joe Knoll. If you did, it was cool to see you, and we look forward to seeing you at other events in the future if we can possibly make that happen. And we appreciate you guys being there day in and day out for us. And also, for watching the videos, guys. We have so many amazing views because you guys are out there watching. If you want to really help support us, smash the bell, click all. You'll be notified about all the stuff that we're releasing. We're trying to release like 2 to 3 videos a week. Sometimes we're doing 4. And in the extreme cases, we're doing 5. I think we've done like 60 videos in 2023, and we have no plans of slowing down. In fact, we're going to speed up if we can.
Oh, we are?
If we can. So that's the other reason why we really need your help. And the way you can help us is when you buy these planes, that helps the people that we work with to know that we will generate sales for them, okay? It's not like, you know, you're going to buy them anyway, right? Because they're awesome. So when you do, just follow the link and you'll help support us. Plus then that helps them to know that they're not wasting their money sending us airplanes for us to review, because we have done hundreds of them and we love doing them. And plus that gives us an opportunity to show you guys no BS, fastest, bestest, greenest, bluest, whatever. That's a bunch of malarkey. We're here to show you how it does with an everyday Joe. My name's Brian though. And with a wonderful camera crew. And we try to do it in a realistic environment. We're not going to do this where it's like always in the exact same manner, but we do want to kind of have the same basic characteristics. We don't want to fly out in hurricanes and stuff. We want to try to fly in reasonably good weather most of the time. It does give us a chance to show these things in their best light, but also we do occasionally throw in windy flights. But you guys have already picked up on that. If you're watching the Second Thoughts, you already kind of know that probably. But if you are new to the channel, what do we do here? I'm Brian Phillips RC. My wife is Megan of many years. She has a name. I call her the camera crew because it annoys our haters. And so the camera crew and I love to annoy our haters. So we would love to have you as one of our regulars. And what we try to do is help avoid one and dones. That's where we teach people things about RC so that they can be equipped to make good decisions. Not buy this plane for the first one. Because most people are going to see this video and they're going to say, oh man, I must have one. I'm going to sell my car and go buy one. Well, it's not that expensive, first of all, unless you have a really cheap car. And then secondly, what we want to do is we want to help propagate the hobby, grow the hobby, get people to really get hooked, to sink their teeth into the hobby. Because this is an amazing hobby. It is not easy, it is not fast, and it is not cheap. But it's not near as expensive as you probably think it is when you first get into it. You can make it as expensive as you really want to be honest. But at the end of the day, if you're spending $200 or $300 a month to go golfing, you can fly and you can have a new plane every couple of months or maybe once a month, and you can get in the air. And you can do that, and it's very realistic to assume that. Now, if you're wanting to spend like $100 a month, it's tight right now because everything has gotten so expensive after the pandemic. And so if you guys want to start on the path of learning, we're going to help make your dollar stretch as far as possible so you can get the right plane for the right purpose at the right time for the right reasons. Not the fastest, bestest BS that you get from everybody else. This is not the best plane I've ever flown. Neither is the last one, and neither will be the next one, okay? That's just not the way it is. I've flown so many of them. I don't hardly have favorites. I do kind of have favorites, but I have favorite groups, right? Mm-hmm. Which is usually like recent planes I flew. And if you're anything like me, you're going to tend to gravitate toward what you've flown recently to, you know, in your short-term memory. So, but if you gun to the head and you said, Brian, you have to grab one plane and all the kids are out and there's a fire, what would you grab? I don't know. Probably honestly the Carbon Z Cessna T28, right? The Carbon Z, was that confusing enough?
You were wrong.
I totally said it wrong again. I cannot say that plane right.
The Carbon
Z T28.
That's all.
That would probably be the one I'd grab, but I'd have to grab the transmitter and the batteries and the chargers.
You have to get it like out from behind the
and then I would start getting other planes and they'd be like,
melted.
Brian, don't go in, Lassie's already out. So anyway, the other thing we try to do here on this channel, and we think we do an all right job of it, is we try to help expose people that were in the hobby and getting you back into the hobby. So basically, if you're coming back into the hobby, we're gonna help get you up to date on kind of how the technology is working. You know, if you don't know what AS3X is, we're gonna talk about that. Safe, what's that? Auto leveling, you know, what's that? You know, what is DSMX? I have no clue what letters just came out of your mouth. Those are all acronyms. We're good about trying to explain that. Largely that happens in our unbox build radio setup. So if you see a plane you like, just look at the playlist for this particular plane and you can go back to when we did the unbox build and radio setup, and we'll talk a lot about it. Now I'll probably still talk about these same things because we do try to hit on those high notes. But at the end of the day, if you're new or returning to the hobby, you're in our prime audience. We want to try to reach you guys because you're the type of guys that are going to want to buy these planes and they're going to want to learn about which one's better. Like I got $700 burning a hole in my pocket and I think my wife isn't going to notice this one. So I want to make it count. Okay, good. We're with you. We understand. I get it. Okay. Just tell her about the snakes in the basement. It's no big deal. But just remember, you might get hit by a beer truck tomorrow. And you know, you want to spend time with the family, you want to love your family, you want to, you know, do a good job at work and make your boss a lot of money and all those things that are good. But what you really want to do is get these planes and get in the air because it's going to be really fun and it's going to be something that is hard to replicate. The experience is different than anything else you're going to have. And like I said, it's not easy. It takes effort. You cannot buy this skill, but it is easier than it's probably ever been in the history of time to learn to fly RC because there's so many aids out there, not the least of which is AS3X and Safe. And this one has a Reflex V2, which is a flight controller that helps to stabilize the aircraft and also auto level, provided you use the right receiver. And we'll show you how to do those things in the unbox build and radio setup. And yes, we go into the exhaustive detail of showing every step until the plane is ready to fly. And then we show it flying and we show it crashing. If something goes wrong.
The whole flight, not just the best parts.
Not just the best parts. We don't go in and clip out all the bad stuff and just make me look like I'm some perfect guy, because I am definitely not a perfect guy, right?
Yes.
So anyway, guys, hopefully that answers all your questions. Leave your comments and questions down below. We'll try to get to them. We have been bad about it, but at the end of the day, we do love our audience on YouTube and want you guys to come back for more. We have so much coming, guys. We're going to be going on a little hiatus. You'll probably see this after the hiatus is long gone anyway, and so that's fine. We do film in advance. You may notice that sometimes the power lines come back. They're pesky. It's like a weed. We cut them down. They come back. It's so annoying. So if you guys see a video about that and you're like, what happened to the power lines? Don't worry. It's okay. It's okay. It's probably just a video we filmed before the power lines came down. So.
And we also try to release videos when things are in stock.
When things are in stock.
You can buy what
we started doing that a few years ago, and it was a big move because it was really, like we said, what is the most annoying thing in this hobby? Watching somebody do something that you can't do right now. If you really wanted to, if you got that money, you got the itch, it's burning a hole in your pocket, and you're like, I got to get something ordered because I need to fly like next Friday. I want to be ready. I got somebody coming in town, whatever your excuse is, and they're all good. You want to order something that's in stock. So we try not to put stuff out that you can't get. Now we do the pre-release stuff because that's part of the gig. Yep. But at the end of the day, we want you guys to be able to order stuff and have actionable information. Like, our 100C pack probably did perform a little bit better on this. Do you need a 100C pack? Probably not. Is it really 100C compared to 50? I don't know. That's probably a bunch of BS if you ask me. But at the end of the day, they put 100C on the pack, and so that means it's better than 50. So I guess. I don't know. I don't necessarily buy it. But at the end of the day, you know, a couple grams more weight, $30 more expense. You know, if you got money burning a hole in your pocket and it's in stock and the other one isn't, go ahead and get the 100C. If it was me, I'd get a 50C and just blow the thing up, which is what I would do. Okay. So, but again, we tell you when we give you bad information, that would be bad information. The right information would be get the high C pack. These twins are battery killers. They always have been. They probably will be until you have a twin battery and you can run one ESC, one battery, one ESC, one battery, and you do tend to get a little better balance loading. So anyway, we don't want to get too much into the weeds because the camera crew told me to wrap things up because I am a long-winded type of guy. You may have noticed. And that's why our videos are like hours long. It's not because the content is so amazing. It's just because I don't know how to shut up.
Yes.
So type amen in the comments, click the bell, subscribe, all those things. But really, at the end of the day, if you guys like this A-10, look in the video description below. There'll be a link to it. Follow the link. You help support us financially, and you guys get to fly this thing too, which is amazing. And it is a pretty easy build, if I remember right, on this thing. It didn't go together too bad. One suggestion, though, if you get an opportunity to buy a plane that has the Reflex V2 versus one that has nothing, and you put in your AS3X and Safe, which we show on some of our videos when we were working with Horizon on the FMS stuff versus FMS with FMS stuff, you might tend to find that you're going to have a better flight experience in general, but it's very small. It's not huge. It's like a night and day difference. No. Let's say it's like a 90% and a 95% difference. So you're talking about a small difference. That would be a 5% difference. in case you guys were, and we try not
That
to
was
do
good
math.
math.
That was good. You see, I like really like underhand pitch. So if you guys want the best flight experience, some of these planes, they're just gonna do better with the AS3X and safe. Other planes, doesn't really matter. They seem to not really care. And also, there are some planes that like don't really do great with safe, even though like it works, it auto levels the plane, but that sensor assisted flight envelope, it's generally gonna work, but there are certain planes like the Timber 1.5 does really good with it. But there's been other planes where it just gets, they get wonky. So it just depends. And if you're a new pilot, we're gonna help you figure that stuff out so you don't have to spend $2,000 to figure it out. Or if you spend $2,000 to figure it out, you will have spent $2,000 on like 4 or 5 different planes in a row. So that's what we want to help you do. Stretch your dollars as far as possible and really get in and enjoy this hobby. So we appreciate you. We know you'll come back. The camera crew is waving me off. Have a good night. Thanks for watching.